So it's been almost 2 years that I haven't been working on a project car. And that's mostly because I thought that I don't need a project car in my life because I didn't want the hassle and the frustration and the rust flakes in my eyes. But it turns out that I don't quite know myself as well as I thought I did, because I have now realized that I absolutely need a project car in my life, because working on one it's somewhere where I can direct my energy, it keeps my mind busy, it inspires me, and I feel that without a project car, I have started making boring content. So it turns out that project cars are actually both good and bad for my mental health. I can live with or without you. So to get my fix, I got a brand new project car. What is it? Well, if you don't already know, then I won't tell you. Instead, I'm gonna delay the answer to some undetermined point later in the video. And that's because clickbait is a thing of the past. It's all about retention bait right now. Now, this car will be the star of a brand new video series on this channel, and it's also going to be my gift to the car community. No, I'm not giving the car away. No, I like it. What I will be giving away is the opportunity to get yourself the biggest humanly possible road illegal driving fun bang for the smallest possible buck. And I'm going to explain how it's going to work later, but right now I'm contractually obligated to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Today's video has been brought to you by carVertical. carVertical is a car history report service. carVertical is the best car history report service. All their competitors suck. Okay, that's the ad. I think they're gonna love that. What I actually want to tell you about carVertical is that you should never, ever use it on a car that you already paid for. Okay, so here we have the VIN of the vehicle. We're gonna put that into the website. Let me just write that down. Give me a second. E425 4341 L 03229. There we go. Now I'm going to hit generate report, and then I'm going to wait a bit. Okay, waiting some more. And there we have it. There we have the report. Open report. Okay. Let's see what it says. Okay, good. Good. That's okay. It's okay too. Huh? Wait, what? What? Hi, just a quick question. Do you offer like full vehicle sterilization / disinfection or something? You do? Oh, cool. No, that's not what I meant. I want you to like pour acid everywhere in the vehicle, like everywhere. Can you do that? No? So the deal is that carVertical gives you a full history report of your vehicle. And when I say full, I mean full. And to be honest, for me, it's a bit too full. Because when I buy a used car, I like to leave things to imagination. I like to pretend how all the previous owners of my car were gentlemen drivers who kept it in a carpeted garage, serviced it every 500 miles, and, I don't know, massaged baby oil into the wheel arches. But with carVertical, all of these fantasies, they're no longer possible, because it really tells you everything. It tells you whether the vehicle was stolen ever, if it's currently being searched for as stolen, whether it was used in a driver's school or as a taxi or a rental vehicle, whether it was in a crash. Sometimes you even get pictures of the crash. It tells you which area was affected by the crash. It tells you whether the odometer has been rolled back, where and when it last passed the MOT, and pretty much everything is in there. I mean, imagine you like a girl, you meet a girl and you really like her and you want to be with her, and then somebody force feeds a time lapse of everything she ever did with all of her ex-boyfriends into your brain. Well, that's carVertical, but for cars. And I guess if you're the kind of person who's into that kind of thing, not judging, then you can use the code D4A to get 20% off your report. Okay, let's get back to the project car business. Once I realized that I needed and wanted one, I started doing the activity which consumes 98% of the lifespan of every car enthusiast, and that is looking at used cars for sale. And of course, I started with the usual suspects. Now, I haven't seriously looked for a project car in, I don't know, 10 years. So you can imagine my shock when I saw all of these absolutely crazy prices. Back when I bought my Toyota MR2 Mark I in 2014, I paid 1,350 euros for it. I know, I sound like a boomer now. You know how boomers say they bought their 3-bedroom home for 6 raspberries back when Cleopatra was on the cover of Playboy or whatever? Well, that's me now, apparently. But I mean, still, come on, 10 grand for an NB MX-5 with the 1.6? Aren't project cars supposed to be like a blue-collar hobby or something? Well, anyway, I had to deal with it. Japanese cars are apparently very expensive now. So I decided to step outside of my comfort zone and do something different, something a bit yucky. German cars. Yeah, as expected, the Germans cost an arm and a leg too. Next, I decided to look at French cars. Yeah, no, I'm not that desperate. There had to be something I'm missing. So I tried asking ChatGPT. Soon I was running out of ideas and I realized that I had to start thinking out of the box. So I decided to do something utterly and completely insane. Ask my wife for project car advice. And here's what she said. What about the Smart Roadster? I wanted one of those for my first car, but they were really pricey back then. So I decided to give it a try. There we go. This is the kind of money that I'm willing to spend on a project car. Still about 5 times more than I'm used to, but half the price of a NB 1.6 MX-5. And soon I found one and bought it. This one, and this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the last truly affordable, but at the same time also truly fun sports car. Now, this is not a vehicle without its issues. But first, let's talk about the good stuff. So, how would I define the Smart Roadster? Well, basically, it's the result of a bunch of Mercedes engineers getting drunk and designing a K car. Because this really is the size of a K car. But unlike a Japanese K car, I actually fit very comfortably inside this one. Now, it is very low to the ground, so you're gonna need to practice your squats if you wanna get in and out with any sort of elegance. But that's a very, very small price to pay because what you're getting into is a mid-engined rear-wheel drive sports car that weighs, wait for it, 790 kilograms. Here in the back, under some carpeting and a quick release metal cover is the engine. And it's a 700cc turbocharged inline 3. I told you, it's a K car. It makes 82 horsepower, and here, as you can see, it says Smart, engineered by Mercedes-Benz. Now, I'm sure that meant something like, I don't know, 40 years ago. Today, it means just a bunch of Renault parts, and back in 2002, it meant that it was the start of the era where Mercedes was just getting complacent and relying on past glory to introduce, let's say, questionable products. And to be fair, this car has quite a few questionable decisions on it, but let's forget that for now. Let's stick to the good news. What's interesting is that the engine is a 2-valve per cylinder twin spark plug, so pretty fun. And this time around, we're gonna take the inline 3 thing as a positive, because as we know, engines with an odd number of cylinders, they tend to produce a very interesting soundtrack. Now the turbocharger of this engine, which you can't really see from here, but you can see it if we get under the car and then wait for the camera to regain its senses. Come on, there it is. That's the turbo, that's your downpipe, exhaust. Now the turbo on this engine is, as you would expect for a 700cc engine, it is absolutely miniature. It's a Garrett GT12. But back at the time when this car was introduced, it was the world's fastest spinning turbo, 300,000 RPM. But what's more interesting is that in this car, you get from the factory, you get to experience something that you would only expect from a Group B rally car. Okay, I want you to listen carefully now. Yes, that is turbo flutter on a 100% bone stock car. The little turbo pushes 0.7 bar, which is I believe around 10-ish PSI, but there's no diverter or recirculation valve of any kind. So what you get is this absolutely beautiful sound. The engine overall, it is small and it has a modest power output, but it is lovable, it is charming, it's free revving, and you know, it's full of character. I do wish that the red line was a bit higher, but the engine is not the main star of the show anyway, despite its very cute and fun and lovable character. The main star of the show is the handling. Before I bought this particular Smart Roadster, I test drove 5 other Smart Roadsters. 3 were Roadsters, just like this one, and 2 were coupes, the ones that have the different thing in the back. But the steering in every single one of them was horrible, completely dead, zero feedback, like driving a soggy noodle. But the moment I sat in this one and started driving, the sensation was completely different. I'm talking night and day. It was the most feedback-rich steering I have ever experienced. There was nothing it was obscuring from me. Watch this. This is the road I'll be driving on. Now observe what happens with the steering. As you can see, the steering is reacting to every little imperfection on the road. And when you start cornering with this thing, it gains weight in an, I don't know, in an almost poetic manner. After I bought the car, when I was driving it back home, I was genuinely surprised at the speeds I was taking through the corners and how absolutely confident I felt doing it. And I can't believe I'm saying this, and I hope she doesn't hear me, but I think it has better steering than my MR2 Mark I. And now, I never owned a Mazda MX-5 for long term, but I drove all the generations except the latest one, the ND, on numerous occasions. And again, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like this has better steering than those cars as well. I asked the owner after test driving it, why was the steering so good? Why was it so different to all the other Smart Roadsters that I test drove? And he didn't have a clue, because he said he never drove any Smart Roadster other than his own. And when he finished the test drive, I asked to open the front compartment, and the answer was immediately clear. This thing had manual steering from the factory. And all the other Smart Roadsters I test drove, they had electrical power steering. Apparently the manual thing is very rare, but I can't recommend it enough, because the electric power steering is pure garbage and it completely ruins the driving experience of this car. And honestly, power steering on a mid-engined car that weighs 790 kilograms is only necessary if you have, I don't know, the arms of a T-Rex or something. Fortunately, the electrical power steering can be easily disabled on a Smart Roadster. Whether that gives you the same exact feeling as a factory manual, I really don't know, but a used manual steering rack for this car is around $70, and retrofitting it should be pretty easy because access at the front is great. So then why does this cost half as much as a 1.6 NB MX-5/Miata? Because when you think about it, we have pretty much the same power to weight ratio, we have the same massive driving joy, and just like an MX-5, this is also a convertible. So what's the catch? Well, actually the main reason why this car doesn't hold its value like an MX-5/Miata is because journalists decided to defecate on this car. And you know what car people are like. We're gonna spend hours in the comments section defending Richard Hammond's opinion of something we have never experienced ourselves. And what journalists hated the most was this, the transmission. And indeed, it is the stupidest kind of transmission known to man. It's called an automated manual. Even the combination of the words is idiotic. You have a manual and then you automate it. Why would you do that? Okay, so basically here under the car we have our transmission. And inside this is a manual transmission. It has 6 gears, it has synchros, a clutch, and a flywheel, all the parts of a manual transmission. But then between you and all of these mechanical devices, there's a bunch of electronics and actuators and servos, and when you move the gear lever, you're just sending a signal to an actuator which engages the clutch, and then another actuator shifts the gears, and then again the first actuator releases the clutch. Basically, it works like this. Let's imagine I'm driving, and let's say I'm in 2nd gear, okay? So I tell the car to shift into 3rd. I then go to the municipal court and settle several ongoing legal disputes. I come back, and the car is still in 2nd gear. Of course, I'm exaggerating a bit. In general, the downshifts aren't that bad, and the upshifts are a bit worse. Let me give you a little demonstration. I'm gonna secure the phone right here so that you can see what's going on. As you can see, it's not too bad, but it's also not ideal, and it does take away a bit from an otherwise glorious driving experience. On the plus side, it does make this satisfying click sound whenever you shift. So why didn't they just give it a manual? It probably would have been cheaper too. Well, they didn't give it a manual for the same reason that they put that horrendous electric power steering in most of these cars. Back when Mercedes was developing the Smart Roadster, they didn't see it as a vessel of joy for car and driving enthusiasts. I think they saw it as a fashion accessory for people like Paris Hilton. But fortunately, some of the engineers on the development team weren't marketing Muppets. So what they did is that they absolutely nailed the geometry and the weight distribution and the balance and the handling. Perhaps one of the best testaments to just how fun to drive this car actually is the fact that the god of car guys himself, Mr. Gordon Murray, chose to voluntarily own one of these as his daily driver for 13 years. I mean, if it's good enough for him, then it's gotta be amazing for the rest of us. That being said, it's time to talk a bit about the bad news. The bad news is that this car is a bit of an unfinished product. Fortunately, it is unfinished in the aspects that do not impact driving fun. For example, the retractable roof on these cars fails often, it leaks water, and it's very expensive to replace. Of the 6 cars that I test drove, only 2 had a functioning retractable roof. These things that you put here and remove, they can also rattle and leak water. Water can also enter through the front, and then it gets into the electronics, and then the car goes crazy, and it's a nightmare to fix. And yes, there was a recall, and yes, it is one of the reasons why Mercedes ended the production of these cars early. The engine is usually good if taken care of properly, but still compared to Japanese stuff, it is a bit fragile and doesn't tolerate lazy ownership. This line leading to the AC compressor often breaks, the clutch doesn't really last long, the center engine mount fails pretty early, turbos don't last long, so overall, it's not a terribly reliable car. 2 more things I learned about the Smart Roadster. Number 1, never drive with the top down without sunscreen. And number 2, back when I first bought the car, I decided to do a little service, oil, filters, and that's when I learned what smart actually means. It doesn't stand for clever, it stands for S&M art. Because working on this car is actual torture. Not only is access to everything on the engine horrible, but you actually constantly fear spilling something and permanently staining the carpeting that's everywhere around the engine. But that's just the start. When you get under the car and you want to undo the oil sump drain bolt, you're going to discover in true tease and denial fashion that there's no oil sump drain bolt. Where's the drain bolt? What the The only way to change the oil is to use an actual adult toy. So you take this bit and stick it in here, and then you take out the dipstick and put it on the table, and then you stick the other end into the dipstick hole and you pump it until the dirty liquid starts coming out. It takes absolutely forever, and it was by far the most boring, time-consuming and messy oil change I have ever done. But I'm sure that the weight and cost savings from omitting a sump drain bolt more than make up for it. Now, fortunately, the aftermarket has a solution for this, and it's even not that expensive. But all of this is just nitpicking. All of these flaws, they give the car character, okay? The point that I'm trying to make is that at the end of the day, I paid 5,000 euros for this car, and it was one of the most expensive ones listed for sale. The point that I'm trying to make is that Mercedes made these for only 3 years, and they made only 43,000, which means that you are looking at a future classic. Its price has sunk to an all-time low and can only go up from here. And the fact that the journalists pooped on it and the car community sat on it means that we are getting an extremely fun car while avoiding the hype tax. Honestly, it's already really fun in bone stock form, but in the upcoming videos, I plan to make it absolutely perfect, because I think that this transmission and the electronics can be easily hacked and the shifting greatly improved, and I think that working on the engine and modifying it slightly can also improve the shifting a lot, and the engine is already turbocharged from the factory, which means that we can easily increase the power while keeping the car 100% road legal. What I'm trying to say is that with just a little bit more money poured into this, I can create a car that is insane fun, is 100% road legal, and has the fuel economy of a Zippo lighter. And all that while keeping the total budget well below of what a 1.6 NB MX-5 costs nowadays. And that's why this project is called democRACY, not democracy. Democracy is that thing where you give somebody 4 to 5 years to legally not deliver their promises. This is different. It stands for demos, is people, Greek for people, and racy is of course racy, race car, racing, or in this case, road legal driving fun that is easily accessible to the people. Because that's what I think project cars should be like. And that's why all the mods that I plan to do in the upcoming videos, they're going to be easy to understand. I'm going to make them user-friendly and easily repeatable, so that if you own one of these, or if you decide to buy one now, you can easily get the same end result. Actually, it appears that according to Google, racy means lively, entertaining, and typically sexually titillating. Well, whatever. I believe that my presence in these videos perfectly responds to those criteria as well. What's a bit sad is that this car never made it to the United States, but it's very small, very lightweight, so you can easily import it. Never mind. Well, What can you do? What can you do? I know. What you can actually do is you can move over to Europe, because not only are our children unarmed, we also have these really cool websites like Amazon and eBay. There's a bunch of others, and you can buy whatever you want, and we actually just pay the price that's listed on the item. It's really cool. Seriously though, I do have a friend over in the States, and he says that his next door neighbor imported one of these cars into the States. The cool thing is that he imported it as a golf cart, because according to some law, this fits in the size limitations of a golf cart. And that allowed him to pay absolutely minimum import duties, and then after he imported it, he registered it as a normal car and drove it on the public roads. Now, my friend, he likes to make stuff up, and he also thinks that gear shift indicators are great, so take that with a massive grain of salt. Anyway, Project democRACY. Woo! Let's go!